Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagan, and welcome back for another fun-filled, action-packed episode of Iowa's most entertaining conservative podcast. We are not even going to get anywhere with John today. I think we got good John today because he's having a good time.
Yeah, I am.
That's it.
Well,
you giggle. You're all the way through my intro, and then I call on you.
Well, there was a headphone malfunction.
Okay.
Wrong. Wrong.
We've clearly upgraded our IT equipment.
So today is new equipment day for the ITR Live podcast. So we've upgraded a few things. I made some edits to the soundboard here, and be lucky if we get anything out of John on this episode.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, first off, I'd like to give our listeners an update on the background noise on the podcast, which is today is the construction equipment that's been working for the better part of the week outside our window here.
It's Bobcat Day.
Yeah, it is.
In the courtyard.
And apparently they only run in reverse because it's just been nonstop beeping most of the day. We still aren't entirely sure what it is they're building out here in the courtyard of our super fancy office complex. But yeah, they've had this thing tore up for about a year, which looks like a patio. Do we know?
We really don't.
So
I think they said it was supposed to be a patio of some sort.
Okay.
Well, they
I
tore
don't
out
know.
all the small, individual patios.
Yeah.
I guess to make one great big one.
yeah, it feels like a government job somehow.
We know the Federal Reserve occupies most of these buildings.
I think they're the ones that play ping pong, but I'm not. So maybe they just need a place to grill out. John's got some good office cookout stories he was sharing with me in a pre-production meeting today. Needless to say, if it starts raining, you're the man on the job, right?
That's right.
You'll provide cover for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe someday if it is, let's leave it at this. Let's hope it's a really nice patio for us, and we can have like an ITR Live podcast cookout live episode. If they do that, I think we should have our first remote episode. And
is there any chance Pa Hendrickson would come down for the live show?
Oh, I think they would.
We have a nice patio.
Yeah.
And Alfred.
Yeah, they would.
I'll get him on the show.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Hendrickson, I would love it.
Yeah.
Consider this your formal invitation to come on the show. I honestly, it would be interesting, and we would be honored here. Okay. Next issue. John, you had an article that you found today, and I think it was about Iowa's tax rankings again. So we're just going to completely shift gears onto tax policy. But didn't see that coming. No, you didn't. We finally got around to tax policy. What do you tell me about the website? What you found? What it says?
Yeah, this was from the website Wallet Hub, which I must confess I'm not very familiar with it, but I was led to the story from the Quarter Business Journal, which is published in Eastern Iowa. But they had an article where Wallet Hub does an annual ranking of where the states land in terms of their tax rates, and they ranked Iowa the 10th highest overall in the nation, and then they had,
so in a sense, the bottom 10. Right?
Yes, yeah. So 10th highest, and then they broke that down through three different categories. Iowa ranks 14th overall in terms of property tax, 16th overall in terms of income tax, and then 25th in terms of sales and excise tax.
And again, John, this is actually the highest.
Yes,
so the higher the number, the worse off you
are. The lower the number. Because
yes, that's what I mean.
Well, what were some of the other? So we were. I'm sorry, we were 10th. Was that right?
Yes, overall 10.
Well, the other states that were worth us are. There's a lot of basket case blue states that were.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, okay.
And one thing about these rankings, we have to take them as they are, because this takes Iowa's situation right now, and so it does not take into consideration the tax rate reductions that are forthcoming. And it does say one thing, though, and that continues to highlight what Tax Foundation has pointed out, and now what Wallet Hub is, that Iowa has a serious property tax problem. We're 10th. Tax Foundation ranks us 10th highest in the nation. Wallet Hub, we're ranked 14, so it's kind of their rankings are the same. And And so that shows that there needs to be something done on property tax. I think we'll see as income tax rates continue to lower in Iowa that our ranking will get better, and especially when we hit that 3.9 flat tax rate in 2026.
Well, and we talked about this when we talked about the tax foundation rankings, that it's for a static current date moment in time.
Yes. Yeah.
Where we still have not phased in the lion's share of the tax reform that we have done. And so, and we've even talked with Jared Walczak from Tax Foundation, who has sort of said, you're going to improve dramatically once that's phased in, but this is how we do it today. So, but to your point, John, we know we're going to get better on income taxes in these rankings, and we know that we are really falling behind on property taxes, and without reform, there's really no hope in sight.
Yeah, and it shows that Iowa can be complacent, and so even when we hit 3.9, there are states that are undergoing, even right now, considering legislation that will either get lower than that or be tied with us, and so. There's some truth to the argument where states are in economic competition for, and part of that is for lower tax rates, and the list is growing of states that are looking at enacting more pro-growth tax reforms. And right now we're seeing Iowa led the flat tax revolution, and we're seeing more states going to join the flat tax club pretty soon. And so right now Arizona has, I believe, the lowest flat tax, and North Dakota, if they pass theirs, will, I think, may even beat Arizona, depending on how low they get it. And so it just shows that, Iowa's done some great things on tax reform, but we're not done yet.
I think that's exactly right. And I think that John, you and I have been talking a lot about what's still possible this year for tax policy, whether it's income or property, but what's really on the horizon, which sometimes, look, it's only been 12 months since we passed this historic, flat tax bill. But it sure feels like things are setting up for another run at income taxes in the not too distant future. And that's driven by the fiscal success of the state of Iowa. That we've held the line on spending, and tax receipts keep coming in strong, and we're going to give that money back to the taxpayers. So, good. Well, okay.
Some folks within the Capitol have ways they'd like to take more from the taxpayer.
Yes.
I don't know if we're to that part in the program.
Well, we kind of are, actually.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing: is in my time in the legislature, there's always bad bills, and there's always bills that get run for various different reasons other than trying to make them law. But we talked about on a previous episode, and we've mentioned this organizationally, but a proposal to establish entertainment districts in Iowa, which has been around for several years, this idea. And what it will do is allow a city to create an entertainment district. What goes into that seems pretty wide open, and then apply an extra sales tax,
supercharge the sales tax rate in these
in that entertainment district to build entertainment related infrastructure or something.
Probably amenities too, Chris.
Yeah, our amenities. I think when we talked about this, when the bill was in the Senate, some of the proponents were excited to build a pedestrian bridge next to the recreation complex in Bettendorf. Okay. Well, I don't know if that's worth paying a whole bunch of extra in sales tax, but
here's let me push back, Chris, on that. If it is, I've got news for you. Not many years ago, that was a farm field that generated no sales tax and relatively low property taxes.
Right.
Now that area is developed, they are already generating much more in property taxes and much more in sales taxes than they were before. They should be able to use those new, that new revenue stream of the development itself,
right,
to do these things. If they have their heart set on more amenities, they don't need to go in and supercharge the tax rate in an area that's already going. I mean, goodness gracious, when is enough ever going to be enough? And here's the problem. Here's the real problem.
There's
Chris.
more.
Well, there is more. It's one thing if a city wants to keep building shiny things for themselves and say, look what we did, and that's maybe their prerogative. What's really disappointing is when folks within the state legislature want to go ahead and do that and allow them that free pass to go just raise taxes. And it's particularly disappointing when some of the folks pushing that issue have campaigned on tax cuts and what they claim that they understand good tax policy, and then they want to give an increase. And it's just a reflection of what happens when you've got Republican or conservative majorities for a while. Sometimes they cease to be taxpayer majorities, and they come up with ideas like this and push it through. Don't realize they're starting to become the very thing they used to fight against.
What bothers me a lot, I agree with all of that. It bothers me on this one, of all the things we've talked about, the excess of cities. They can bond. They can go on the ballot for a special bond.
You can use TIF.
They can bond against their local option sales tax revenue. They can go and TIF the land.
Chris,
they could just straight up raise property tax. They've got any number of tools to soak the taxpayer to build their shiny objects and their amenities. But that's not enough. They need another one.
Maybe what best way to illustrate it, when I'm going, hey, I think TIF is, when I am saying that TIF might be a better option for this, then we've really plumbing some new loads.
When Ingstad's pitching more TIF, we've got a real problem.
Goodness. We the foundation put up an article this week about the concept or the idea of mission creep for cities. People expect, one, they expect their taxes to be held in check and, keep people safe, right? Those sort of services, responsive city government, those sort of things. People don't immediately think of their cities or counties as building shiny new things and amenities and then being stuck with the bill for it.
But the evidence for that is what we've talked about when the assessment fix on the rollback. Mm-hmm. The first thing that gets offered up is, if you do this, legislature, we're going to cut police and fire. So somehow they understand that at some level that's their core function is police and fire, because that's the first argument they make to the legislature when anytime their ability to spend gets threatened. But we all know that they're doing a whole bunch of other stuff besides police and fire. But they're not talking about that when they're asked to be reined in, or when somebody's trying to tell them, no, you don't need a new source of taxpayer dollars for even more of it.
That's right.
So, okay, well, the point of all that is that bill passed the House Appropriations Committee and is moved.
It went through approps?
It did go through the Appropriations Committee.
But it's a tax bill went through approps.
Tax questions are supposed to go through the Ways and Means Committee, and spending bills go through appropriations. So we will stay tuned to that. We're going to be paying attention to it because the primary function of Iowans for Tax Relief is to encourage lower taxes for all Iowans and no new tax increases. And so we'll continue fighting for that and make sure that our folks know what's happening up there. Good. Moving on. We've decided we're not going to talk about Stormy Daniels. Is that right, gentlemen? We're just going to pass on that one.
Well,
okay. All right. We're going to pass on that.
The last time we talked, it sent John into the laughing fit. So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to get him back.
Okay. Because I thought John was ready. He looked like it. That's right in his wheelhouse. It's taxes, trade, and Stormy Daniels. No, I guess not. All right. Sorry.
Well,
John.
maybe we should talk just a little bit.
Okay.
Some folks will immediately dismiss this because they'll view it as some sort of Trump apologist statement. And I have said for a long time, one can feel however they want to feel about President Trump, and that is. But Governor Reynolds made a great point in her release that, New York City, you probably have other things your DA should be worrying about, right, than what the president did or didn't do, right? And then the idea of democracy that these folks claim to hold up, they're actually eroding quite a bit. You can look up her statement and see what she said. She made a very good point, and frankly, don't confuse the fact that President Trump is involved with the point that the governor is.
Right. I have two thoughts on this. The first is after and this isn't a pro-Trump, not Trump take, but the left has been coming after Trump since before he took office on Russia, that he was nothing more than Putin's guy, that they actually went in and edited the results of the 2016 presidential election, everything, Russia, and nothing came out of that. In fact, it was proven that it was largely just made up. And then we got treated to the January 6th show for months and months and months and years. And whatever you think of that, none of it was laid at Trump's feet. But the one thing that's finally got liberals dancing in the streets, if they finally got him, they're finally going to put the dastardly Donald Trump behind bars, is on third-party payments to squash a allegation that was later proven to not have even happened. So it's just all of it silly. It's just silliness and absurdity all around, and fine. Look, I've got my own strong takes on the criminalization of politics, and that's a very dangerous path that I'm not sure either side wants to go down. But it seems to me that our politics is being reduced to that kind of warfare, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you said, and I thought it was really encouraging what the governor stated in her press release about it, and as you said, Chris, I mean this has been a witch hunt against Trump for even before he entered office, and I think it's completely politically motivated. The New York DA basically even said before he assumed that position that he was going to do this to Trump, and I think it's a very dangerous precedent that we're setting with this. Well, and I would recommend, I don't know if viewers, but we were in our pre-production meeting talking about this, but last night on Tucker Carlson, the Jason Whitlock, who's a commentator, had a great 4-minute interview on Tucker Carlson about this issue, and I thought just outlined it just brilliantly about what's going on here and a lot of this cultural revolution that's going on from the left.
I guess my other take is for the left that is so intent on going after this is like, this is how you get Donald Trump's second term, is this kind of business, because you're turning him into a martyr.
Yeah.
And whether you guys get it or not, but this is the kind of thing that Donald Trump thrives off of. And you're turning him into the victim here. And I don't think it's particularly well thought out. And but anyway, we'll see. Look, all of that aside, it is a significant moment when a former president is indicted, because that's new. And that's not a place we've been before. Yep. So I think it merits some consideration. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
Do we have a construction update? Are they? I keep hearing the reverse.
Yeah, it's still going.
Okay.
My skills at editing the podcast have gotten better over time. I don't know that I can pull the beeping out of here. So, listener that's out there, we apologize for that. But we decided we had important content that we needed to get to you, regardless. So, all right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for making the time. To everyone out there, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. And with that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.